Hey, this is Ginger. I'm recording this on St. Patrick's Day, which in our house is my husband's and my anniversary, our wedding anniversary. This year, we have been together for 8 married years, and that makes 12 years since we first fell in love. And so I think it's a perfectly nice time to talk about what is the point of being in a relationship with someone for this long. So, my definition of what I thought love was has certainly evolved over the years. Before I met my current husband, who is also the father of my 7-year-old twins, I was in a lot of long term relationships. I was what you might call a serial monogamist since I was about 13 years old. And I know that sounds a little wild, but the relationship I was in at 13 lasted until I went to college at 18. We were very close. But I started learning the lessons of being in deep intimacy with someone very early. So, my first definition of love was the one. I think that a lot of us millennials who were teenagers in the late 90s and early 2000s were sold this idea, this ideal even, of finding one person who is your everything. We had Jerry Maguire, whose famous line was, "You complete me." I thought love was supposed to be all consuming, and I thought that when I found the one, I would never be bored. We would never fight. They would always see me exactly for who I am. It was a rude awakening. When that relationship ended 5 years in, because we went off to college and I just wanted to experience life, I continued on the path of wanting to find people to get super close with. Back then, I had a definition of love which I think stemmed from being an artist. So in high school and beyond, movies and music, mwah, they were what I lived for. I grew up in a really small town that was kind of boring, so I escaped into a far more colorful and interesting reality by watching movies. And I always loved the art films, anything that would take me to another world and really fully make me feel immersed in that world where other people got me, because I didn't feel that many people really got me in real life. But that is why I like to get super intimate with one person, aka a boyfriend, because at that time, what I was looking for was somebody to show me what they saw in me, somebody to show me why I was special. I wanted to be worthy, and I didn't feel inherently so. My first boyfriend definitely showed me that. I spent my next few years in relationships going from one extreme to the other in the personalities of the people I would choose, because this meant that I would see myself in lots of different lights, and I would really learn a lot more about who I really was. This was especially poignant for someone like me because I'm an adoptee. I never had what most people have, which is some parents to look to, whether good or bad, and know that, hey, this is what I'm probably most likely gonna be like someday. I never had that. So I was always building my identity day by day. So what helped me was finding people who were as interested in me as I was. So I guess you could say it was a juvenile definition of what love is. Love is someone who I can totally immerse myself in, that lets me escape from reality by living out this fantasy and giving me purpose. I put a lot of pressure on my relationships back then to give me purpose because I was so into these grandiose stories of someone finding that person who fulfilled them. And I thought that that's what I was supposed to be looking for. So, the next stage of my life, I was unconsciously seeking out people to show me different facets of myself. In the early days of each of these relationships, I became obsessed, and they were my creative fuel. They were the fuel for whatever I was writing and whatever I was making at the time. If I was in a play, they were the fuel for whatever emotional state I was trying to get into. And eventually I started to believe that there wasn't actually a the one anymore. And this is when my definition of what love is for changed again. Around this time, I attempted an open relationship, and this worked for a little while. And the reason I attempted this was that the serial monogamy was showing me that I wasn't being fulfilled in any of these relationships. And maybe I wouldn't ever be fulfilled, I thought. I thought maybe this idea that one person should be your everything is not possible. And therefore, I thought, I just want to have my cake and eat it too. So what I wanted was stability. I wanted somebody who really knew me, who I felt safe with. But also, I didn't want to feel too safe because that's really boring. I still wanted to explore, and I still wanted to get to know people on the level that you can only get to know people when you're intimate with them. The freedom of multiple partners was kind of fun for a while, but I realized what I really wanted was to go deep. And so I fell in love. I kept falling in love with people outside of my primary partner, and that was not the goal. But this did teach me something else about myself. It taught me that actually an open relationship was not what I was looking for, because I didn't want to just be skittering from this person to that person. I kind of didn't know what I wanted. I was kind of confused as to what love was for. So I took a break, a much overdue break. I took some time off from dating and from focusing at all on a partner. I began to focus on myself, as in, I was looking for the truth of who I was and what I wanted in life. And I think you can only find that through solitude and through really questioning why you have been doing all the things you've been doing. You have to know that before you can find who you're looking for. Up until this singlehood that I had imposed on myself, I had been living life like a tumbleweed, just rolling through as if I had no control over my situation. I had believed so much in fate that I thought that everything was just gonna come to me without any intention on my part. I thought that there was a greater power than me that had it all under control, and that I was just a weak little chess pawn that didn't have any control. During this deep dive into my recovery of my purpose, I realized my own power in this situation. And that's not to say that I gave up on the idea of a higher power, because that's still how I explain a lot of things. But I changed my definition of that higher power into believing that part of that power was in me. So this is when I started to realize the power of my own intentions. And I started to realize that what you go seeking is seeking you. So when I got back on the market for looking for a partner, I had this list of attributes that I was looking for. And I was not interested in anything that didn't fit the bill. So this is when I got into a relationship with the person I am married to still today. He was not like he was not like me. We had the same goals, which is very important, but he had found his way to those goals in totally different ways than I had. So simply put, he's a more cerebral person and I'm a more heart forward person. However, we both have that other element in us that is inherent to us. So the two of us ended up fitting together so nicely in a lot of ways because we brought out that other part that wanted to come alive in the other. And let me tell you, it has not been easy. There have been so many times when we've hit a wall of not being able to communicate because the two of us had such different upbringings and such different communication styles that we've almost not made it. So when the times got hard and we might have wanted to give up, we tried and we tried and we pushed through. The thing about being with somebody for so many years and I'm only 12 years in. There are people who are way wiser in this than I am, but you are going to be both evolving, because that's what we're doing here on this earth. We are here to evolve and here to learn. So when you're with somebody for this long, you are guaranteed to be both evolving, and you're not always going to be evolving at the exact same pace. So if you're with a person that you want to be your long-term partner, then you have to push each other to evolve in the ways that you are evolving so that you can be on this journey together. And you have to be okay with the fact that sometimes that's not going to be possible. Sometimes he's going to want to go and investigate this part of life. And I'm not going to be there at that point because I'm going to be over here investigating this part of life. And we just have to hold space for each other and be willing to come back and meet and discuss what we have learned together, and then try to find a new path forward that works for both of us. First time I thought we were probably not going to make it was when he wasn't letting me fall into this old pattern with him. I thought, well, this is not what love is supposed to be like. If we're in a serious relationship, we're supposed to do everything together and create rules for each other and never spend a moment apart. But that is not how it went. And that was when I learned another way to be in relationship with somebody. He really redirected the energy I was trying to put solely into him. And he showed me that I needed to put that energy into myself, to continue putting that energy into myself that I had been before I met him. So let me cover what I found out is not the point of love. Finding the one to complete yourself is not the point of love. Number two, this is controversial. Finding someone who you just want to have fun with, who makes you feel good at the time, that is a part of maybe who you want to pick to spend your life with, but that is not the reason to choose someone as your long-term partner. And number three, finding a muse to inspire your art, that's a total another thing. I found that out the hard way. So what is the purpose of romantic love? And what is the purpose of staying with someone for longer than a short little season? To me, the purpose of romance and love and having a long-term partner is self-mastery. It's much higher a purpose than the songs and the movies would have you believe. It's not always going to be fun because facing down your demons on the path to self-growth is not fun. But when you find a person who holds up a mirror to you and shows you the truth of who you are at any given moment and challenges you to be better and to transcend, that is a good person to keep around. I have found it to be life affirming to find somebody who is willing to put in the work and grow with me, who's willing to question our intentions and our lives and try to build something together that we both agree is good. He is a person who reminds me of my worth when I forget it, and he confronts me when he sees me taking the easy way out. And I do the same for him. By the way, we also do have fun. But I think the most fun that we have right now at this stage in our relationship is seeing what we can grow together. And having two 7-year-olds together has certainly proven to be a really good training ground. So I don't know if my philosophy on what love is for everybody. Maybe we all came here to experience different things. Maybe your relationship comes with a different purpose right now. And I'm not delusional enough to think that because Kai and I have a wonderful marriage now, that it will always be this way, because we've had really rocky times in the past that we've gotten through. But I think that you have to approach relationship with an attitude of surrender and an attitude of curiosity And if you want it to be a long term relationship, the number one thing you have to have is a commitment to commitment. So when the going gets tough, you actually have to look for a nugget of beauty in whatever is going on and try to find a way to communicate with your partner that bridges whatever gap is between you. So happy St. Patrick's Day to you and happy anniversary to me.